I think the combine and the interviews and all of it, I think all come back to one thing, is trying to uncover information. As you get the information that you get, how you dissect it and what you look at is a different part of that process. I will say that we've made changes, we've made our adjustments, and I think we'll be more prepared this year because of the different time frame of me having the position for a year now instead of getting that appointment late February last year. I do think that it's all about uncovering information and trying to create better relationships and bonds. Inevitably, everybody has a piece of this puzzle, so you only get information from people that are willing to share it with you. So the information that you get, you got to be resolute as to what that is and how that comes about. So adding experience to our scouting staff, I think, was a major part of that. Guys that have existing relationships, long-standing relationships, you feel like you get a better take as to what you're getting and the quality of that information. Again, I'd say this: you don't find out everything about every guy, and to have it's interesting. If you had a scout or you had somebody that actually lived in that college town, you might find out more. But then now you'd have 365 scouts all over the country trying to figure out who's at all these little schools. So it's a part of the puzzle. You got to build the relationships, and you got to know that, hey, when I talk to Tom, Tom's going to tell me the truth. And as you build those relationships, that's when you start to get that real information. I don't know if it matters if you're formally interviewing, if you plan to spend time with the person. You get a 15-minute interview in a formal. Is that better than me flying to a city and spending a day with the kid? I mean, it's actually it's an allocation of resources. If I have 2 questions or 3 questions to ask a player A, you may want to take that time and get that off the books, and then now he's finalized, rather than I have a day's worth of questions for player B, and I need to fly and spend that day with him. So it's a puzzle. I guess the best way for me to say this is that everything can be a smokescreen. It's always about enjoying the camaraderie of going through. I don't want to tell anybody where I'm at. I guess is where I struggle with, is that if I tell you that I want to draft a wide receiver in the first round, then guess what happens? Somebody jumps in front of me and takes that guy. So it's better to leave everybody somewhat in the dark for how we kind of go about what we go about and what our true needs are. Everybody makes their own evaluations and their own assumptions, but for our end, it's really more about playing the game of, do you really know where we're at and what we're trying to do? Again, it's interesting that there's the notion that this class is better than the last class, or these guys have better namesake, or whatever the case may be. It'll all come out as to where guys get selected to, how quickly they embrace that opportunity, and how much they produce, or what it looks like. It's a question that gets answered in arrears. On the front end, people may say this class is not as good, and inevitably you may turn out and say this class is actually better. So it comes down to how they actually perform once they get to the actual football. Again, like I said, we've had those conversations internally. We know who those guys are. We know how they fit with Flip and Buster's case on the defensive side of the ball. So we've had them internally. We've had our conversations. We've had some conversations beyond that. And I probably won't comment. I know I won't comment about where we are with it. Again, I would tell you that every team evaluates players on their own. It's just like draft boards. Everybody's draft board's different. Everybody's free agency board's different. So how teams value any particular player really doesn't come down to how he played in our scheme. It's how would he fit in their scheme. So it's hard for me to answer that question when we have our own independent idea of what team needs are. But again, I'm not in people's building to put a requisite value from a league perspective.